What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Rich Nice back once again. So today we're talking about the wiring harness for the C10 project. We tried to save it as much as possible. It was really butchered up. So we spliced a bunch of stuff together, but you know, with wire being 50 plus years old, sometimes there's some breaks in it somewhere down the line, and it's just way easier to replace it than it is to try to hunt down and find it. So we can't get our blower motor to work. We can't get our windshield wipers to work. There's a bunch of cut wires that don't have no clue where they go. So instead of trying to take the time and research it, we're just going to get a aftermarket reproduction harness specifically made for this truck, and it's going to be painless. It is a painless wiring harness, and the number is 10206 is the part number right there. They're out of Fort Worth, Texas, which is about 3.5 hours from where I'm at. And this has everything we're going to need to basically plug and play into our C10. So you watch the intro and I'll go ahead and get this unboxed.
Dark side, light this bitch up.
All right, so now we got this unboxed. This is the piece that goes underneath your dash. It has all your modern ATO or either ATC fuses in it. It has your 2 flashers for your hazards and your turn signals. It has your horn relay, and it has all of the connectors that go up to your steering wheel, your wiper motor, your headlights, your ignition. Everything is already pre-terminated on this harness already. And then you have your piece that goes on the outside that connects to your bulkhead, and then this has all of your wiring for your rear, your front headlights, things that go to your starter, your power wire that goes to your max fuse kits, which will max fuse kit, which we will not be using because we did a LS swaps. But normally you would hook this to your junction box that's in here, and that junction box would go down to your starter using this wire right here, the 6 gauge, and that's how you get power to your vehicle. And then you'd have your wire that would go to your HEI distributor if it was electronic and all that good stuff. So we did a few different things, but it should be fairly simple to replace the wiring harness we already have, because a lot of the stuff is already done. The only thing we may have to do is re-terminate our headlights, because it does give you the option to connect up to 4 headlights depending on what year your truck is. So again, this is a complete kit. It has everything that you need. It has all your connectors. It has some extra terminals and fuses and things like that in here. You even get some dielectric grease right here. And here is all your heat shrink and your terminals for your distribution block. Here's some more connectors with wire ties and your turn signal lights. Here's some more heat shrink cable for your inside if you're using your stock dash cluster to connect this right here. So I will get the other one out and we'll lay them side by side and see the comparison. I got the old harness out, which is this one right here. We tried to use these adapters to put these blade fuses in, but didn't work out well. As you can see, this harness has been really hacked on. Again, I tried to save it as much as possible, but it just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So this is the new harness, and I know it looks intimidating because there's a lot of wires, but this is a 28 circuit fuse box, so they'll give you things like power windows, power locks if you want to add it in the future. It also gives you third brake light and all that good stuff, which we don't have. So some of these wires we won't use. And this was I was talking about, that everything comes pre-terminated. Here's your high beam right here. Here's your blower motor. Here's the light for your switch for your heater. Here's your ignition plug right here. Here's your headlight switch. Here's your turn signal. Here's the ground. So all this stuff inside the cab is plug and play. The only thing that you're really gonna have to be concerned with is this, and most of this is your rear harness. Like this right here will be your rear harness, and everything is labeled. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but everything is labeled every 6 inches, and it tells you where it goes and where it comes from. So if you ever get lost, you also get a full colored manual that you can reference to. Oh, some of it's color anyway. Yeah, there we go. And it tells you exactly how to hook everything up. Whether you have a carburetor, whether you have turbo 400 or 700H or 700R transmission, all that good stuff. So we'll get this started and get ready to put this in the truck. First thing we're going to put in the truck is this piece right here, the fuse box, and then run all of our wires where they need to go. We got our fuse box mounted in our firewall. So basically now we need to run our wires. This is our wires for our OBD2 port right there. That's what some of these wires are, and then some of them are for the oil pressure, temperature, and so on. So really, you also have wires in here for your radio, which as you can see we don't have, but we have a cutout for one. So we'll run those wires up there. We'll take this piece right here out, and this is where we'll put our cigarette lighter or our USB charger at, because they do give you wires for your cigarette lighter. So I will pull these up and get them to where they need to be. Then we'll just start plugging stuff in. So let me reroute these and then we'll be back. We got our bulkhead connector in. We just got to make sure we put some silicone around it and make sure we don't get any leaks on the inside. It's basically broken down into 3 parts. You have your rear section that goes out to the back for your tail lights, reverse lights, your fuel sending unit, those type of things. Then you have your engine section, which it says right here. And then you have your front headlight section, which it says right there. So there's some wires, again, that you will not use, especially when you're doing an LS swap. These wires right here, one is for the coil, one is for your tachometer, and 2 are for your regulators. So because we don't have an external regulator that used to sit up here on the core support, we actually have our regulators internal of our alternator. We don't need these, so we'll cut these off and we'll heat shrink these and then tie them together with the rest of the wires. These 2 wires, the blue one is for your oil temperature or oil pressure sending unit. And then the green is for your temperature sensor, which we actually put on the far side of the head over there in the back passenger corner. And then you'll have this one tan wire, and this wire is for your brake warning light. So other than that, we took the big red wire, we have it ran down underneath the radiator, and it comes out over here. This is what will give your vehicle power. We cut our pigtails off that we put on the old harness so we can use them on the new harness. And these are for the headlights. These wires right here are for your park lights and your turn signals. So, and the same thing here, we have our park light, turn signals, side marker lights, and this big long green one right here, this is for your horn. And then we also have our pigtail here, and then we have our plug for our horn that we cut off. Again, majority of this stuff is plug and play, but there will be some things that you will have to use off the old harness, which is right there. Let's go on the inside and I'll show you what we got going on there. All right, let's get some light in here. All right, so the harness is kind of broken down where it needs to go. Under here, these are all your excess wires that we're not going to really need. That goes to your, these are your courtesy lights right here. This orange and white wire. This is also a ignition key on switch that we can use for something. This blue wire right here is your remote turn on for your amp. And these are your dome light accessories. That's what these are. Also your third brake light. In here we already hooked up our light switch. This right here will go for our gauges. These wires that go over here and come across. These wires right here, they come out of here. One goes to the back of the wiper. Inside, as you can see over there, that is the wiper motor itself. It has two plugs on it. These wires right here are the passenger courtesy light. Basically, these are so when you open the door, the actual dome light comes on. When you close the door, it goes off, that type of thing. We don't need these. Same thing with these ones right here. These are the courtesy light for the driver's side. We won't need these, so we'll get these capped off and heat shrink those up. Over here, you have your wire for your radio, which is these wires right here. And then you have the wires for your power windows, power locks, and those type of things that's right here, these yellow wires with this pink wire. So we won't be using those, so we'll get those capped off. There was one more wire in here. It's a tan wire right here. This goes to our cigarette lighter, which we don't have a cigarette lighter, but we actually have a USB charging station right here. So it has USB type A, it has the fast charge for the iPhone, and then it has a type C. So we got that hooked up already, along with the wires for the radio. So everything, like I mentioned, is plug and play. So I'll continue to go ahead and finish knocking these out. We also put in our relays for our LED lights. That's why those are clear instead of silver. And then we also have our OBD2 port along with our mill light. I changed this out from LED and put a condensate bulb in there. So hopefully it'll work out better and won't be as bright. So they do come with a plug for your gauges. It comes with two types. Either you can have the gauges, or you can have I believe it's some kind of instrument input or something. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at the manual. Once I figure that out, I'll let you know. But other than that, everything else is plugged in. The only thing we really have to do now is get wire. And as you can see over there, our relay was already, our starter was already, ignition was already hooked up. So we just plugged it in, good to go. So I'll continue getting this thing wired up, and the next thing we'll be doing is turning on the power, making sure everything works. So then we'll be able to put our gauges in for the final time and call it a wrap. So more to follow. All right, YouTube, so we got most of our wiring up front done. We still got to work on the inside. When you're doing this LS swap, normally this pink wire right here, pink wire, would go to your HEI distributor, and it would give it power, but it doesn't have power on this particular harness. So what I found was this brown wire right here is a wire that has power, and it would normally go to your regulator, which would sit up here on your firewall if you're using the stock engine or a 350 or something like that. So and it doesn't have internal regulation for your alternator. So this wire is now the wire that turns on our LS motor. So it does have power when the key is switched, so it goes there, and that's what's going to turn our motor on. Up front, instead of trying to redo new connectors and crimp them and all that good stuff, I just cut the old connectors off, since these were pretty much brand new anyway, and just heat shrink them together along with our side marker lights here, and then our park lights and tail lights way down here. So both same side, and headlights work, so we're good to go there. I did end up using the distribution block that came in the kit. It's right here, and it goes from here over to our battery, and then from here inside of our fuse box panel. So again, I'll get all this cleaned up. This is your starter wire, purple. So I'll get this cleaned up, and then we'll start working on the inside. We did use these butt connectors. They have solder already in them. So basically you stick your wire in both sides, it meets in the middle. You use a heat gun to shrink it up, and that will melt the solder, and your wires will be soldered together that way. We also use a whole bunch of heat shrink, different colors. This is all I have, so this is what we're using, so it is what it is. So again, not too bad. It was pretty easy to cut the connectors off, put the new connectors on, get everything wired up. So one thing I did mention earlier was these plugs right here. This actually goes to your dash. It goes to this plug right here. So that plug, you have two choices. You can either use this plug that doesn't have anything hooked to it, like down here, or you can use this plug, which would go to your gauges. And let me find the old school gauges, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is what came in the truck, but you can have some that have more gauges. You have your fuel, temp, and all that good stuff down here. And on the back is where this portion right here would plug, and you would just have to figure out where these color-coded wires would plug into this piece right here, and then this piece would just plug in just like that right there. So because we're using aftermarket gauges, and these wires right here will go straight to our dash, and then we'll get those, we'll use those butt connectors right there with the solder to connect these, and then we'll just plug it in. That way it's removable and we don't have to worry about it. We'll get our gauges plugged in, our digital gauges, and then we'll heat shrink some other wires that we don't need, like all these courtesy lights, and get those tied up out of the way. And then we'll be good to go. And this thing should be ready to run. One thing we also did was, because I didn't want to have to depin the steering wheel connector, I went and got this adapter. So this adapter will take it from curved to straight. And basically down here you can see, well, I'm not sure whether you can see it, but this is curved. Let me turn some light on, of course. Let me get the light and I'll show you. All right, so I did depin, move these wires out the way. I did depin this one. This was the connector that we had before that went to our plug right here. So this new connector will just plug right in just like this. Clicks in, and then this piece will just plug in just right here, just like this. And that way you don't have to worry about depinning it or anything else. So it'll help if I get it in the right spot. Yeah, just like that. And now your steering wheel connection is made. Easy peasy with this adapter. Now this does come with the actual steering wheel piece, turn signal piece that goes in here, the white piece. And basically this is it. So this kit cost me, I don't know, like 40-50 bucks. And the only thing I used was that one piece adapter out of it that we needed. So we still have this as a spare. So if something ever goes wrong with our actual turn signals, we'll have this piece right here that we can stick back in and we'll be good to go. So in case you want to know what this part number is, this is the part number, is DL6194, and again it came from Napa. So I will take this inside because football is on, and I'll get these gauges wired up like they're supposed to be. We'll butt connect them, heat shrink them, and then we'll just come back here, plug it in, and everything should work. So I'll go do that and we'll be back. All right, YouTube, we got most of our wiring wire tied up out of the way. There's still a few pieces that we need to tie up, but we got our gauges hooked up, so we'll get those installed. We still got to tie our steering wire back up. We got to tie our wires up for our OBD 2 port, which I just popped out right here. And we got to run these wires right here. This is for your dome light, your amp remote turn on, and a couple other things like your third brake light, that type of stuff, to the rear of the cab. Once we do that, the only wires we'll have left hanging out will be the wires for our radio, and we don't have a radio just yet. Don't mind this right here. This is our ground, so we'll just hook the ground from our radio to this, and this ground's our plug right here for our USB and all those other good things. So we'll get that hooked up and we'll be back. All right, YouTube, so we got the gauges back in, got a couple more screws to put in, but this is what they're gonna look like. Not too bad, not too bad. So we'll get these, finish getting these installed, get the screws in, get our wires tied up and ran to the back, and then we'll call this project for this particular piece done. We still got our wires for our radio, so we'll have to get a single DIN radio, put it in there. As always, thank you for subscribing. If you're new, welcome to the channel. If you've been around a while, thank you for sticking around. Stick with me. We'll put the bed on next and get that going, and that'll be one more thing that we'll check off the list and be closer to getting done. As always, thank you again. hit the bell, subscribe. Much love. Peace.